There's someone coming. No, there's someone. What a fool.
Was it Carlos Morales you were on your way to meet?
No. It was me, Novio, my boyfriend.
Your boyfriend?
Yes, he worked just below here at the cafe.
Oh, he is perhaps a waiter.
No, he works in the bar.
Right. Dry your tears on that. That's right. And on the night of the murder, were you on your way to see him then?
I wanted to, but then I hear someone coming. So I went back to my room.
At what time was this?
Almost 10 o'clock.
Did you happen to see who it was?
No.
No.
But from the footsteps, I could tell it was a woman.
How?
Well, whoever it was, she's wearing very short heels. Because they sound like that.
Oh, Poirot, Hastings, I thought you disappeared. I was just about to call the police.
They weren't here a minute ago. I looked.
Yeah, you're quite right. You're very observant, senor. Thank you very much.
Egg told me you might be here. I'd like to talk to you if I could.
Yes, well, now that you have found us out, of course. For the moment, could you sit there just for a second? I just want to ask this young lady one more question. What was this famous butler like? I mean, did you have an opportunity to talk with him?
No, senor. He was very private. We only saw him when it was time to serve the dinner.
Well, thank you very much. You've been very helpful. Thank you. Oh, you better take this. It's very dark in there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Gracias. Yes, thank you. Forgive me for...
Monsieur Poirot, I am sorry. I suppose I'm getting a bit frantic, but it's about Egg and all this murder business.
Yeah?
You see, she sees it as a sort of lark, an escapade with Charles. But quite frankly, I'm worried.
About the escapade with Charles or about the murder?
Well, the murder, of course. You see, Egg is so frightfully impulsive that once she sets her mind on something, there's no stopping her. It's like a kink in her personality. She gets it from her father's side of the family, of course. Well, I'm afraid I'm partly to blame as well. Oh, I do try to be firm with her, but... Well, take today. Now, the first thing I know, she's rushing off to some sanatorium to see that patient. You know, that Miss...
Mrs. Rushberger?
Yes, that's the one. And right now, she's with that poor Mrs. Babington, awaiting the results of some sort of autopsy.
The exhumation, yes, of
yes.
course.
Do you know what she said to me as she was rushing off this morning? And she wasn't teasing either. She said that she was thinking of coming back here and laying in wait because the killer always returns to the scene of the crime. Now, can you imagine?
Was she going to take some cheese and wine there? I'm sorry, I know, I shouldn't have said that. It's a joke.
Senor Poirot, a telephone call.
Oh, thank you. Poirot. I see. Yes. I see, tomorrow morning. All right. We will be there, yes. Bye. That was Charles. Our suspicions are confirmed. The Reverend Babington was poisoned with benzoatine. These are the same glasses that were used during the cocktail party.
Yes, they are.
And you, Miss Milray, were the last person to handle them. But of course, nobody could have tampered with Stephen Babington's drink. Nobody. Oh, except Mrs. Babington.
Mrs.
Babington? What a terrible thought. You don't seriously think that she's the killer, do you?
No, I'm thinking aloud. If only Dr. Strange had been murdered first, then we might be onto something.
Why do you say that?
Because at least we would have a motive. Who in his right mind would kill an old gentleman like Stephen Babington? Whereas a doctor, that's quite different. A doctor has many professional secrets. He also has the capacity of putting people away, of isolating them if he deems that they are dangerous to themselves or to other people. No one can imagine a lot of reasons for killing a famous neurologist.
Wally Still wouldn't have been the first victim in the case.
I should very much like to know the reason why.
He didn't drink cocktails. He couldn't stand them.
He couldn't stand cocktails. Oh, what a case. What are you writing? There's nothing to write about. This is so stupid. It's so obvious to me that both these crimes are two halves of the same crime. In order to understand one part, one has to understand the other, and therefore, I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, what do we do now?
I'm open to any suggestion, mademoiselle.
Why don't we separate into little groups and ask some questions, in a friendly way, of course. I mean, maybe some of us will turn up something.
Excuse me, but shouldn't that be left to the police?
Oh, come on, Mother. How often do we get a chance to solve a real crime? And remember, you're still a suspect yourself. I guess we all are.
This is the Fuller family. The Fullers have just filled full with 4 fried foods, and this is the fullest the Fullers have ever felt, folks. Alka-Seltzer to the rescue. Alka-Seltzer fights your acid indigestion and fixes your headache in a flash. Send Alka-Seltzer to the rescue and feel your finest fast.
Alka-Seltzer to the rescue.
Also try flavored Alka-Seltzer with a sparkling fresh taste of lemon lime.
Look, I've got a lot on my mind right now. Yes, I should have looked. I should have known Alpo cost the same as those other dry dog foods. But since Alpo has more meat protein than 10 pounds of steak, I never dreamed Alpo would cost the same as all those others. Don't worry. You'll always be my first baby.
Alpo beef-flavored dinner. Real meat protein at a really good price.
My hair is beautiful. And no, I didn't get it from prehistoric mud treatments. I don't put slimy eggs on it. I don't spend time in a bar pouring beer on it. I get it from my hair color, performing preference. Surprise. Not only do I get color that's translucent with layers of light, I get hair, beautiful hair, naturally fabulous looking hair. So I have everything. And I, for one, am worth it.
Performing preference from L'Oreal.
California raisins from the California vineyards.
Don't you know I heard it through the grapevine?
Sounds great, doesn't it?
You know, I could be fired for this.
Why? You have done nothing.
Well, that's exactly why I could be sacked. Listen, Poirot, if you're so certain that one of the guests is the murderer, why don't we round him up and question him one by one?
I can be certain of only one thing, my friend, and that is that there was no deliberate murder of the Reverend Babington. As for rounding them up, we can do that at a later date. Buenos tardes, señorito. This is Colonel Mateo. I'm Hercule Poirot. We telephoned you earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Frost, preacher.
He's been diagnosed as catatonic. That's a form of schizophrenia.
Yes. Was it you who telephoned Dr. Strange that night?
Yes, sir.
The next question may seem peculiar to you. Was there anything about what you said which might be construed as amusing?
Not at all.
Oh, one final question. Does anybody ever ask after Mrs. Rushbridger, apart from her family, I presume?
No, sir. No one.
Well, Charles and Mademoiselle Haig seem to have lost interest in their affair.
They sure have. They're off playing policemen with the rest of the suspects.
Yes, Colonel, we have stirred the pot. We shall soon know what comes to the surface.
There she is. Go get her.
Oh, I don't know how I let you talk me into this.
Come on, Mother. All you gotta do is say you're thinking of updating my wardrobe. Then ask her about Abington.
Well, what about you? That Freddie Dayton is a bad character.
Oh, come on, Mother. We'll be at the yacht club. Go on.
Come on.
All right.
She secretly loves this, you know.
Yeah. Well, are you sure you want to go through with this?
If Freddie Dayton is as fond of women and drink as you say he is, no problem. Just don't let yourself be flattered by that Angela Stafford.
There is a young lady here to see you, sir.
A young lady? But it couldn't be my lovely wife, could it? Well, what a wonderful surprise.
I hope I'm not intruding.
No, not at all. What can I do for you?
Charles recommended that I talk to you. It's about Mother. Well, not really. Actually, it's about me. You see, right now, Mother's in your shop, determined to buy me a whole new wardrobe. And she doesn't realize how tight things are financially. I've even been thinking about going to work myself.
No.
Yes. And, well, since fashion has always been an interest of mine.
Of course. Of course. Of course. Come in. I was just about to order us a drink.
This one's cut very simply. That's rather elegant, don't you think?
Yes, it is quite nice. God knows Egg could use some simplification. I suppose you've heard the latest about poor Richard Babington. The autopsy results, I mean.
Yes, I did.
You know him from before, didn't you?
No.
Well, I mean, you've met him before. I think he mentioned it that night.
No, I never saw him before in my life. You must be thinking of someone else.
Huh.
I'm very grateful to him and poor Dr. Strange, though.
Really? Why?
Well, as long as the case remains unsolved, there's just half a chance I murdered them myself. So now I find all sorts of dreadful women coming in to order clothes from me, just for the sensation. Silly, isn't it?
Reverend's one thing. Nobody murders reverends. A doctor, it's a different story.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
Got too much power, if you ask me. Lock a man up, put him through hell, call it taking a cure. I'm not about to take that damn cure. I don't care what my wife says.
I imagine she can be very insistent.
I would love to know what goes on in that precious sanatorium of his, but that's what they want.
Dr. Strange and your wife?
And others. Others are watching me, too, like that rabbit-faced woman. One who writes the plays. Want to tell me what she was doing in my room the night of...
The night of the murder?
Found her poking around. Looks more like a weasel.
Did you tell the police?
The police? That's all I need.
Did you tell anybody? What is it? What's wrong?
Somebody put you up to this, didn't they?
No.
Was it my lovely wife?
No, I just wanted to talk to you myself.
How poor you are, yeah. Well, you're good. You're very good. You studied with a master, didn't you? Charles Cartwright, man of 1,000 faces.
Do you mean to say that you actually drew up a list with our names on it? Charles, you have gotten carried away again.
This is important to me. Wally was our friend. Isn't there anything you can tell me that maybe you noticed?
Not that I haven't already told the police.
What about this Carlos character?
I don't know, I hardly noticed him. I mean, he just sort of blends into the wall, if you know what I mean. How about that other guy, that Montoya? Now, he made an unexpected entrance. A new method of gate crashing, you could call it.
Excuse me, ma'am, you have another visitor.
Miss Crisp. Good afternoon, my dear.
Charles?
Charles.
Janet and I are putting on one of her plays, two-way traffic. You remember
Yes,
it?
I do.
We're putting it on for all the big wigs at the consulate. Should be lots of fun.
Excellent.
I hope I'm not interrupting anything.
Oh, don't be
Does it look like it?
silly. Charles is here in the role of a detective. This way, Charles can kill two birds with one stone. It's a rather unfortunate choice of words, isn't it? Oh, would you like some coffee? Why don't you pour us some?
Sure.
Okay. We were just talking about that dreadful night at Ustinov.
Maybe you noticed something
About what?
about the murder.
I'm afraid not.
Oh, don't be so secretive, Jan. I know what she's going to do. She's going to expose all of us in a book about the case.
Well, are there any revelations of any kind that we should see?
Forgive me.
I guess you didn't like the coffee.
Now, don't be funny, Charles. Now, we're all edgy about this. It could have happened to anyone. You all right?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Now, I, for one, think that it's time that we got everything out into the open. I mean, we should all get back together again, including that Hercule Poirot.
He apparently had the same idea. I just spoke with him.
And?
Well, he saw the ad for the play and decided to have a little party for us at his hotel this afternoon. Everyone's invited, he said.
Introducing Wendy's new big classic hamburger.
This is the good stuff.
Can't get it in a Whopper.
This is the good stuff.
Can't get it in a McDLT.
This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new big classic.
Fresh beef, fresh taste, big size. This is the one made right before your eyes. This is the good stuff.
Wendy's new big classic.
Can't get enough. This is the good stuff.
What makes a Colorado leader? Ability, experience, vision, independence, trust. Ted Strickland, Colorado Senate President, a big part of what we're doing right. Ted Strickland, leading the fight for new business and jobs, lower taxes, better schools, and to protect our land, water, and air, our way of life. A Colorado leader doing the job for all Coloradans, for Governor Ted Strickland. He'll do what's right for us.
Thicker is flirtier. Thicker is sassier. Thicker is Great Lash Mascara by Maybelline. More than just thick, it conditions as it thickens. And lashes can't get any thicker than this. Great Lash conditions as it thickens by Maybelline. Long-wearing nail color by Maybelline lasts through work, lasts through play, lasts through all you do and say. And what colors? Long-wearing nail color by Maybelline lasts and lasts and lasts.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of two cereals, both with 100% nutrition, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 people picked Just Right over every other high vitamin cereal. There was no question of nutrition. It was simply a question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit or whole grain.
We will return to Agatha Christie's Murder in 3 Acts.
Thursday.
If this boy ever sold drugs, I'm Ma Barker.
Simon and Simon help a sailor in trouble.
Can we talk?
But can they keep him in line?
Thank you.
Then, on Nuts Landing, a kidnapper forces others to cover their tracks.
I would be an accessory after the fact.
As a game of survival grows more and more desperate.
What are you gonna do?
And when every second counts,
K.O., let's go!
you can count on her.
It's his only chance.
She's Kay O'Brien, Thursday on CBS.
Hot shots.
There are no real ghosts.
Prove that to Amanda when she reports on a haunted hotel. Hot Shots, tonight on CBS Late Night.
Americans, we know who we are. And when it comes to news, we know who we trust. Dan Rather, weeknights on the CBS Evening News.
This is CBS.
Good evening, I'm Jim Redmond. Coming up at 10 on 7 News Night Beat, the date is set for the next face-to-face meeting of the superpower leaders. Reagan and Gorbachev say they will hold a mini-summit next month in Iceland. Johnny Zinn, the man convicted in the abduction and murder of Linda Daniels from North Glen, gets life in prison tonight. The jury couldn't agree on the death sentence. And some of the top comedians in the nation gather here in Denver tonight to help a fellow funny man. Now this.
Consuelo Mack and Bill Wallman put you one step ahead of the pack and bring tomorrow's financial forecast in view. Today's business.
Weekdays at 6 a.m. right here on Channel 7.
The death of a 3-year-old Denver boy is investigated as possible child abuse tonight. See you at 10.
Colorado leader, ability, experience, vision, independence, trust. Ted Strickland, Colorado Senate President, a big part of what we're doing right. Ted Strickland, leading the fight for new business and jobs, lower taxes, better schools, and to protect our land, water, and air, our way of life. A Colorado leader doing the job for all Coloradans. For Governor Ted Strickland, he'll do what's right for us.
Ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing.
Burger King celebrates real chicken cooked in 100% vegetable oil. The Chicken Tenders Meal Combo. Get all white meat chicken tenders, large fries, and a medium Pepsi, all in one convenient pack.
Ain't nothing like the real thing.
Chicken Tenders Meal Combo, now at Burger King. It'd be a shame to miss it.
Ryman Paul Simon on Entertainment Tonight.
I wish to toast Madame Stafford and Miss Crisp, who have collaborated in a wonderful play, which I'm sure will be an enormous success, and to which we will flock in our droves. The play.
The play. The play.
Why don't you drink? Look, we have drunk and we are not dead, are we?
I didn't think so.
Oh, no. There is nothing in here except some bubbles and the juice of the fruit. That's all. I guarantee that. You have the word of Hercule Poirot.
That's good enough for me.
Charles, I could trust you. I knew that.
You egg.
Thank you very much. So, the play? Have you noticed how champagne dissolves all tensions?
Well, you can't really blame us, Monsieur Poirot. Not after the last 2 parties.
Yes. And now that we're all here, what's the real reason for this one? Come on, Mr. Poirot.
No, you let this happen. You killed Charles.
It's right. It was I who killed Charles Cartwright. But you know, Miss Haig, there's a little trick I learned in the Far East. To kill people and to bring them straight back to life again. Charles, that was a wonderful performance. Stand up now and take the applause. Charles? Charles!
Hero!
Ah, you are a tricky customer. Fool.
You monster. Unforgivable.
Well, I don't think it was that bad. I mean...
No, don't blame him. It was my fault. I simply had to go through with this demonstration in order to prove one point, which I did. And that is that the human eye, in this case there are 10 of us, 20 human eyes, cannot look at two different things at the same time.
What does that mean?
Well, let us say that there had been poison in Charles's glass. When the police came to investigate the glass, would they find the poison in it? No, they would not, because that is not the glass that was in Charles's hand. This one is. And while you are all rushing towards Charles, worried about him, I had time to switch glasses without anybody noticing. Which proves it could be done. It is exactly what the murderer did on 2 occasions. The first time in the Crow's Nest, and the second time, of course, in El Castillo.
Then you know who the murderer is.
No, not quite. But I do know that that murderer may strike again at any minute. So that I beg all of you, if you have any knowledge about either of the 2 murders in question, which you have not yet told me, please to come forward without delay. I beg this of you, and I'm being utterly serious. No?
Excuse me. Thank you very much.
What is it?
Telegram for you, old man.
Forgive me. I must see you as quickly as possible. Stop. I have important information about the death of Dr. Strange. Signed, Margaret Rushbridger.
Margaret? M. I'm worried about M. That's what Wally said in his diary.
Yes, you're quite right. Charles, I think you ought to go there and see her. Tell Colonel Matteo about this, and when you have done that, go with Charles, if you will, to the sanatorium, Hastings. Thank you very much.
And what about you?
Me? No, I'm afraid I'm not going anywhere. Things are now of such complexity that my duty is to stay here and think.
Talk to you, Mr. Poirot. Ricardo's got a confession to make.
A confession? Please come in. Now, what is the nature of this confession?
It's not what you think, Monsieur Poirot. I'm not the killer. But, well, Egg has convinced me to come forward with some other things.
Oh, well, I think Mademoiselle Egg is quite right. But why should I think that you are the killer?
Because of the way he turned up at El Castillo. But the truth is, Dr. Strange asked him to do just that.
Yes, he wrote that I should fake the accident and then come up to El Castillo. He said he couldn't put the reasons in writing, but that he would explain to me later.
And of course he did not explain to you later.
Well, he never had a chance.
He never had the chance. Have you got a copy of that letter?
Nope. He wrote that I should destroy it.
Oh, he wrote that you should...
There's more. Go on, Ricardo.
Well, right after I was questioned by Colonel Mateo, that was around 10 o'clock.
Yes.
I went to pick up my coat. Miss Crisp was there. She was looking for a shawl or something like that.
Yes.
Anyway, I was putting on my jacket when something fell out of it.
Well, what fell out of it?
I didn't actually see it fall, you understand?
What was it?
She picked it up and handed it back to me. It was a newspaper cutting about benzotine and what a deadly poison it is.
She must have planted that clipping on Ricardo. Don't you remember what Freddie Davis said, how he caught her sneaking around the house that night? I'll bet she's the murderer.
But what motive would she have for killing the Reverend Buddington? She didn't even know him before the party. She didn't know Dr. Strange either. No.
Maybe she's psychotic.
Huh?
A man-hater.
Ooh.
Clever people are often crazy, aren't they?
Oh, dear Egg. Excuse me. Poirot. Not quite so fast, Hastings. What? Oh, la la. Yes, no. An old man. Yeah, I see. I understand. Yes, I understand. I'll see you later. Thank you very much, Hastings. Bye. Mrs. Rushbridger has been killed.
No.
Yes.
How?
Early this morning, she received through the mail a box of chocolates, liqueur-filled, benzotine.
Did you have a chance to say anything?
No. I think it is probably because she said nothing that she was murdered.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Neither do I. What about the telegram?
Oh, the telegram was delivered, according to Hastings, by a small boy who received it from an old groundsman at the sanatorium who saw it drop from a window enclosed in a 500 peso note, and the small boy was apparently allowed to keep the change on condition he delivered the telegram.
I'm afraid I still don't understand. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Do you often play happy families while you're trying to solve the case,
Huh?
Mr. Poirot?
Oh, you know, it's a hangover from my childhood. When I was very young, I started doing this in order to teach myself concentration, and I've never stopped the habit.
So what does Mr. Mugg have to say about it?
Mr. Mugg, the milkman, ding, ding. Oh, I remember.
Charles Edward W. Muggins, that was his real name before he became an actor.
Charles's real name was Muggins. Really?
Probably looked like this, too. So does he have any ideas?
Not that I know of, anyway.
Where does that leave us, Poirot?
Do you mind? I'm sorry to be so antisocial, but I really must concentrate as rarely before.
Do you think it'll be safe to go to the play tomorrow night?
What?
Two-way traffic. We've all been invited to the dress rehearsal.
Where have you been invited?
The dress rehearsal.
The dress rehearsal?
What's wrong?
Have I been blind? The dress rehearsal. Miss Milray. Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, Charles. Mr. Cartwright isn't here.
I know, but they will be along presently.
They?
Yes, all of them, including the police. Mrs. Rushbridger has been murdered this afternoon. I just heard from Charles and from Hastings.
How was she killed?
She was poisoned, mademoiselle, with benzoatine. I wonder if you could make a large pot of tea. I have a feeling these proceedings may last a little time.
Yes.
Don't do that, mademoiselle. For what you are seeking to destroy is evident.
I realized when I got my own business, I had to give it 110% of my time. I got deadlines to meet. I can't let something like hunger get in the way.
Snickers satisfies you.
A Snickers fills me up till I can grab a meal. Cuts of hunger, lets me take care of business.
Packed with peanuts, peanut butter nougat, caramel, and milk chocolate. Mmm.
Snickers satisfies you.
Packed with peanuts, Snickers really satisfies.
Snickers is like a part of my business. When I'm hungry, it really does the job for me.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, 20 below. The last place you'd want to be with a cold. Unless you're the Green Bay Packer backers. So we asked them to try Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine.
That stuff just cleared out my head.
Should have found it a long time ago. Got rid of my aches and pains.
Tried up my runny nose. At Alka-Seltzer Plus, that's all I ever needed.
8 of every 10 Packer backers who tried it switched to Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine. Fast, effective relief for tough winter colds.
Maytag introduces 20,000 cups and saucers, 7,000 pots and pans, 19,000 glasses, 40,000 knives and forks, 5 years' worth of formerly filthy dishes, all cleaned by one highly efficient dishwasher, a Maytag. The dishwasher with a 5-year dependability warranty on the entire wash system.
Because nobody builds them like Maytag.
Save $50. Maytag dishwashers are on sale right now.
Time's running out to play McDonald's NFL Kickoff Payoff.
Oh, no! But it just got started!
Less than 2 weeks left to collect your favorite NFL player trading cards.
It's not enough time! It's not enough time!
Less than 2 weeks left to play and win great McDonald's food prizes.
So let's get going, guys! Come on!
So hurry in to redeem last week's cards and collect more.
McDonald's! Wait for me!
To reconstruct a crime, to make sense of it for the layman, the judiciary, and even under certain circumstances, believe it or not, for the criminal himself, is the solemn duty of the detective. Therefore, he must construct his case like a house of cards, making absolutely sure that it will resist every attempt to knock it down. So, my friends, mes amis, let us begin from the beginning with the murder of the Reverend Babington. You were right, Mademoiselle Haig, and I was wrong for once. Both you and Charles Cartwright believed that the Reverend Babington had been murdered. I did not think it was possible to impose on a victim a glass, a particular glass on a tray full of identical glasses.
Isn't all this rather obvious, Monsieur Poirot?
Well, it may be to you, sir, madam, not to me. The second crime was announced to me by Charles Cartwright himself in Los Angeles, and I immediately assumed that it was 2 parts of the same crime. But who could possibly, in light of this, have been there to murder the Reverend Babington? Well, there was Miss Milray. The other was Charles Cartwright. But neither of these two were at the second murder. At the second murder, the main suspect was Carlos Morales, the butler, who seems to have disappeared into thin air. Although there was one guest who attracted more than usual attention to himself, Senor Montoya. When we were presented to one another by Miss Haig, she referred to you as a communist. She said this laughing. I smiled when I heard it until I noticed a look of overt hostility between you and the Reverend Babington.
We had our ups and downs, Monsieur Perrault. It was mainly about Central America. Nothing serious, though, only arguments. In any case, I'm not actually a communist.
But my regard for personal liberty is such that I don't care what you are, so long as it doesn't culminate in murder, of course. However, your performance at the second party was most unusual, too. You arrived in a disheveled condition saying you'd had an accident nearby. And then you revealed that this whole scenario was the idea of none other than Dr. Strange. In written instructions to you, when asked to produce them, you said they were destroyed. And you did not convince either by the newspaper clipping which fell from your pocket, the subject of which was, of course, benzoatine.
Somebody must have planted it on him. We already told you that.
Yes, very well, Mademoiselle Haig, but by whom? Perhaps Miss Crisp can cast some light on this, or is it all too obvious? Actually, I rather agree with you, Mademoiselle Haig. Everything that Montoya has said and done has been too convenient to be convincing. I think that the more extreme and far-fetched his story is, the more I tend to believe him. You see, a really clever criminal would realize that only someone who was present at both murders would be suspect. And now, who was not present at the second murder? Well, there was, of course, Miss Milray, there was Mrs. Babington, there was Charles, and there was last but not least, myself. Could anybody have given the impression that they were not there while being there? This is where the mysterious butler, Mr. Morales, comes in. He behaved in a very strange way, arriving only minutes before the meal began in order to serve it. The room was dimly lit by candlelight. The butler walked with a pronounced stoop, probably due to some arthritic conditions. And if Rosa, the parlor maid, was intrigued by the butler, she was even more so when he answered the phone and brought a message to Dr. Strange. There was nothing at all amusing about this message. It came from the nurse who was attending Mrs. Rushbridger in the sanatorium. Nothing amusing, and yet Dr. Strange chuckled and kidded with the butler. You're a steady fellow, he said, and a first-class butler. It was almost as though they shared a private joke. There was, in fact, a private joke between them. The nature of that private joke, well, when the time came for the butler to disappear, it was not terribly difficult. For one reason, he did not exist. And that was the nature of the surprise which Dr. Strange had promised Mademoiselle Haig. At a given moment, the butler was to straighten his back, take off his disguise, and there in all his glory was to stand
Charles Cartwright?
the man of 1,000 faces.
Well, thank you very much, Perrault, but you're wrong. I don't do that kind of work anymore. I've retired. I couldn't fool anybody.
You think you're fooling me now?
I don't know and I don't care, Perrault. How can you pretend to know everything that's happened when you weren't even there?
Even a reputable critic has been known to leave after the first act. It's never prevented him from writing a review.
Yeah.
But there is a small difference. I returned for the third act to see if my review was watertight.
May I shoot some holes in it?
Yes.
What would have happened had Carlos Morales, the disguise, been discovered earlier?
Oh, well, then you would have had your usual round of applause. You're quite used to that, and general laughter. And you would have been invited to join the dinner party as a guest. Charles, your pride in your work is enough. to prevent you allowing that disguise to be penetrated. Dr. Strange knew this, and he chuckled in advance as he imagined the general gasp of surprise. Unfortunately, his gasp of surprise came first when he took a lethal dose of benzotine. After that, everything was as easy as it had been during the death of the Reverend Babington. You switched the glasses in the manner that I demonstrated during my cocktail party. Then you were interviewed briefly by Colonel Matteo. You packed your bags and you disappeared forever through the secret passage in the library.
And Dr. Strange's letter to Ricardo?
Yeah, what about that, Perot? Did Carlos Morales write that note, too?
I'm extremely clever, as you know, but I'm not a clairvoyant. I have no idea how you addressed when you wrote that, nor indeed when you planted that newspaper article in the pocket of Senor Montoya, which was discovered, of course, by Miss Crisp, a woman of insatiable curiosity with a particular fondness for murder. Rosa Sanchez, the parlor maid, was leaving the servants' quarters when she heard a noise and was forced to hide. This noise turned out to be Miss Crisp poking about in the library. Both Mr. Dayton and Senor Montoya claimed that she was behaving in a suspicious manner, obedient, no doubt, to the mongoose instinct for finding out. But let us not be too hard on Miss Crisp. She was the only one, Charles, out of all of us to really alarm you, because she was the only one to really notice that butler. And there was something about him which was strangely familiar. The voice, she didn't know what it was. But things really came to a head a little later when you visited Angela Stafford's apartment. You were not there to help in solving the murders. That would be too much to ask. You were merely trying to find out if any suspicions had been aroused about yourself. Then something happened which in itself was insignificant, but it became crucial. You offered our friend Miss Crisp a cup of coffee. At that moment, she noticed on your wrist a scar, which was the same scar she had already noticed on the wrist of Carlos Morales. You see, Charles, there are no disguises which are completely impenetrable. She confided this in me after your magnificent performance during my cocktail party. She was terrified that she might be the next victim.
I want my day in court.
As defense attorney?
I never played a defense attorney. May I?
May the prosecution have one more moment of your time. You see, Charles, there were 3 murders, not 2.
3? They all can't be me.
Mrs. Rushbridge? Charles played yet another one of his galaxy of wonderful characters. An old groundskeeper of the sanatorium. He even tipped a small boy to take a message to the telegraph office. You see, with that instinct which made of him a great actor, he felt curiously that this net was closing around him. He even sent Mrs. Rushbridger a gift of liqueur-filled chocolates. The liqueur in question being, of course, benzotine. The idea was that Mrs. Rushbridger had been killed because she knew too much. In point of fact, the poor darling, she knew nothing at all, was incapable of knowing anything.
Do you rest your case?
My case rests.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Your Honor, I'd like Monsieur Hercule Poirot to take this stand.
Is that your famous limp?
What do you know about my limp? Huh?
Everybody knows about your limp. It's world famous.
Oh. Monsieur Poirot, what is the motive for the crimes in question.
Oh, yes. You had to kill Dr. Strange because he'd been looking after you for a very long time. The official reason given for your premature retirement from the entertainment business was a certain nervous fragility when overworked. This is very far from the truth, of course. The truth is that there were paranoid and psychotic elements in your makeup which could at any moment lead you to unreasonable or even violent behavior. Dr. Strange knew this. He also knew the secret about the scar on your wrist. It was due to an attempt at suicide. I'm worried about M, he wrote. I don't like it.
No. M, Margaret, Mateo, Montoya, Milray. Do I have to remind you that my name is Charles Cartwright?
A name given you by a film studio who deemed that Edward W. Muggins was inconsistent with a romantic lead.
And we must be consistent in everything, mustn't we? I'm famous for being consistent. What is the reason for Babington's death to be consistent in logic?
That is a good question. It is not consistent in the everyday sense of the word, but in the sense of the theater, it would be called, I think, a dress rehearsal. In fact, Babington happened to die, but it could have been anyone. There was no motive, you understand, apart from a purely technical one. You wanted to see if the poison worked, if it was possible to change the glasses. It was possible. Therefore, it was a wonderful dress rehearsal for the real premiere, which was the necessary death of Dr. Strange. I say necessary because, Charles, he was the only person that could put you away.
This is monstrous!
We will see how monstrous it is. I will ask Miss Milray. Excuse me. Now, you see, Charles, Miss Milray, when she found that orchid spray in the gardener's hut, she suspected that you were the murderer. And when you gave that wonderful performance at my party, Charles, there's one face I wanted to see at the very moment of your death. It was that of Miss Milray. For a moment, she was profoundly shocked and then gave way to the deepest despair. She was torn, you see, between her love for you and her horror of what you had done. I followed her to the garden shed. She tried to destroy the evidence. I'm afraid, Charles, she did not succeed. That evidence is now with the police, as well as your passport, in which is clearly marked the time you returned here in order to kill Dr. Strange. And you returned to Los Angeles by the very next plane in order to break the news to me in a voice of anguish.
Who are these people? What are you doing in my house? Get out of here! Why do you let these people arrive here?
Charles,
Why are you all staring at me?
Charles! It's a wrong performance. This is the moment to show dignity. It's a moment to show us what you are made of.
You mean like Sidney Carton in The Only Way? Smiling his way to the scaffold.
Yes, if you wish. Except as here, there's no scaffold. There's just peace of mind, Charles. And, Charles, an infinity of roles to play.
It's a pity you didn't see me as the groundskeeper. I had the audience of one small boy. I used my limp. Wherever they take me, I'll be out in a year. I'm going to give the greatest performance of my life in that sanatorium. Level-headed, rational, and above all, consistent. Huh? Good. Do you think I'm going to struggle? Well, you're wrong. You can put away your straitjackets. You can put away your hypodermic needles. You're not going to need any of them. I'm going to tell you one thing, senors. I may be charming, debonair, and handsome. I may even at times be dangerous. But I am not, I repeat, not crazy.
I've been a fool, haven't I?
No, mademoiselle, merely young. And youth is often mesmerized by age, as age is mesmerized by youth. Don't you think so, Comrade Montoya?
Please, Monsieur Poirot, I'm not even a socialist. Really.
Who cares what you are?
I'm really sorry about all of this, Ricardo.
So am I.
I must congratulate you, Monsieur Poirot. That was a brilliant summation in there. Quite a display. I should think it would make a wonderful conclusion to your book.
My book? Oh, I'd forgotten all about my book. Why not our book?
I beg your pardon.
You know, modern crime is so busy. There's a body falling out of a cupboard one minute, another rising from the lake. You never know where you are. I have no time. Now, if I had a collaborator, someone with a mongoose instinct, what do you think of that?
I think it's a grand idea. Are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious.
Good Lord, Poirot.
What is the matter now?
It's just occurred to me.
What?
When that poison cocktail was handed round.
Yes.
It could have been me.
I thought of an even worse thought.
What's that?
It could have been me.
Latest on the upcoming Reagan-Gorbachev meeting in Iceland and talk with former President Jimmy Carter tomorrow on the CBS Morning News. Tonight on CBS Late Night, a Castle ghost becomes a prime murder suspect on Hot Shots. Then a self-reliant prospector makes wealth from water in the Ballad of Cable Hogue. It's all tonight, after your local news.